Most of us know the Christmas story so well, we rarely take the time to picture what Mary and Joseph actually did in order to get to Bethlehem. When the Bible tells us that Joseph and Mary traveled from Nazareth to Bethlehem, it's hard for us to visualize a walk that covered close to 90 miles and took at least a week to complete. But that's what happened nearly 2,000 years ago as Joseph left Nazareth with his young wife. They were ready to walk across the heart of their country. Mary had already made the journey twice in recent months, but this time, Mary was in the last weeks of her pregnancy. The journey must have been very difficult. As they crossed the Jezreel Valley, Joseph had to choose from one of two difficult choices. If he took the shortest path by the road called the King's Highway, he would have to go through Samaria, a place filled with the national tensions of his day. On the other hand, if Joseph took the safer route, he and Mary would have an extra day's walk at the very least. With so many people moving because of the census, he probably wasn't the only husband carefully weighing his options. Joseph would have faced the same dilemma that all the travelers faced. Which way would he go? Would he go through the heart of the land by the King's Highway? Or would he take the longer river road? It was 12 miles further to go by the Jordan River. In the scope of a long journey, maybe that doesn't seem like much, but they were walking. They were headed there by foot, and Mary was pregnant. But that's exactly the reason that I think Joseph probably went by the river road. He had a wife to protect. They were in a vulnerable position. They just walked through the Jezreel Valley and headed for the pleasant confines of the river. The walk down the Jordan River Valley would have also been the much more familiar way for Mary and Joseph. They would have known many landmarks along the road because of their annual family trips to Jerusalem for the Passover or other religious festivals. As they walked through the historic Jezreel Valley, Mary and Joseph almost certainly passed through one of the largest cities of their day, a place called Beit Shan. If Mary and Joseph indeed were going to take the road by the Jordan River all the way to Bethlehem, then as they came out of the Jezreel Valley, they would have come in just a straight shot to a city like this. This is Beit Shan. An earthquake destroyed this city some 1,250 years ago, and what has been rediscovered and put back together here gives us a glimpse of the glory and the grandeur of this place. This street was a major place for merchants. There would have been stores all along the way. But Mary and Joseph were in a hurry, and they didn't have any money. I can't imagine that they bought anything. They were on their way to Christmas. Just outside Beit Shan, Mary and Joseph would have picked up the river road. It would be their route for more than half the journey. Thankfully, it was a level path, always moving slightly downhill. By the time Mary and Joseph reached the Jordan River Road, they would have been in for a very pleasant part of the journey. If indeed Joseph chose the road that parallels the Jordan River as they went from, say, roughly Beit Shan to Jericho, then he would have made, I think, a wise decision. They would have had a plentiful supply of fresh water at all times, maybe some fresh fish, vegetables, and fruit all along the way. And I think there would be another reason Joseph would have made a wise decision for coming this way. For you see, they would not have been the only travelers along the road. A lot of people would have been moving because of the census. The whole world was moving. Mary was heavy with child. Wouldn't every woman along the way have been sympathetic to her needs? She could have had special tender care all along the way. Joseph also, the man taking care of his wife, would have received any help he needed from the other men, perhaps some extra food and to help carry the load. I think those 45 miles would have been the best part of the entire walk. That brings me to another question. Did they walk the entire way to Christmas? Or did they, as so many Christmas cards have told us, have at least one donkey? Think about this logically. Joseph was not a man of means. He was not a powerful man or a wealthy man. He was just starting out in business. He was so poor that by the time he got to Bethlehem, he could not even afford a room for his wife, who was practically delivering the child as he got there. I don't think Joseph could have bought a donkey, and we have no reason to believe they had a donkey, at least not from the Bible's point of view. Now, if he already had a donkey, of course, they would have had transportation. But think about this. Maybe a family member or a friend had a donkey, and maybe Joseph would have asked for it. In Nazareth, the scandal was red hot. Mary and Joseph left at their lowest ebb of popularity. And maybe he didn't even ask. Could he have bought one or rented one if he had had the money? Transportation, if the whole world is moving, would have gone to the highest bidder. I rather doubt it. We'll never know for sure if they had that donkey or not. But I think the greatest logic says, since they were in good shape, remember this was the third long journey of Mary's pregnancy, I think they just walked all the way to Christmas. Hopefully, Mary and Joseph made good time near the river. The closer they got to Jericho, however, the more the changing landscape reminded them of the terrible climb that awaited them as soon as they left the river road. Jericho would have been a welcome sight for them, a friendly oasis of food and rest. But all the while, they were in the shadows of the next life-threatening phase of their journey. When Mary and Joseph got to Jericho, undoubtedly they received an incredible welcome. For 6,000 years this city has been welcoming the travelers. The underground springs here grow the world's finest citrus. I think they probably took an afternoon off, got a good night's sleep. If they were wise, they would have, because the next part of their journey would be nothing short of a nightmare. The moment Mary and Joseph took a few steps away from Jericho, they found themselves face to face with the most rugged terrain in all of Israel, the Judean wilderness. There's only one road that goes from Jericho to Jerusalem, both then and now. Only one highway today. The wilderness simply will not allow too many passes. And a traveler going from this point in Jericho to, say, Jerusalem is going to have to travel 15 miles and climb 3,000 feet in that distance. It's just an unbelievable test of endurance. The price tag of taking that pleasant road by the River Jordan was having to take the road from Jericho to Jerusalem. It had to be the most unpleasant part of the walk to Christmas.